Oh, that's a cute title screen change. Alright, so done with Digimon Storytime Stranger. Just like I said, I'd play it, I'd beat it. I'm gonna give my official, I guess, thoughts review now on it. So right off the rip, I'll just say it was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. Like I was expecting this to be like some bullshit, like really cheap, like really boring, like just really bottom of the barrel, kind of like licensed, whatever, like scraps, scrapped together, from spare parts kind of game. And it wasn't that. What I didn't really expect was that I was basically gonna get Shin Megami, a Shin Megami game in all but name, where you replace demons and hell in the demon world with Digimon in the Digiverse. It functions, plays, kind of like design, everything kind of like really mimics a Shin Megami game, and that's good. That's a very good thing. So on one hand, like I think the basic battle system is fine, functional. It's nothing. The turn-based combat is nothing spectacular, but it does have it has a shit ton of Digimon, and they all have their evolutions and devolutions and branching paths, and they have their different stats and different types, and their rock paper scissors mechanic on top of, or like multiple rock paper scissors mechanics on top of the elemental mechanics and stuff. So it's not hard to follow. It's not hard to figure out. It's a little weird because you have like virus vaccine data rather than like Earth, Wind, and Fire or whatever, but you just like power through that. There's a lot to do as far as like the raising and the cultivating. Like there's like the little like farm, which is like a little kind of like half-assed Chow Garden thing and stuff. So yeah, there's, as far as like this whole monster collecting, raising aspect, I kind of like the idea too that it's not about capturing monsters. It's about, you encounter them in battle, and then after a certain point, you can just create them. And then if you can like double it up to like make even better versions, like, so you can 100%, scan, it could turn into 200%. So yeah, like as far as like the sort of like the RPG monster element, racing aspect, actually very well done. Pretty well done. Graphically, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but it's generally on the positive side. There's some really good looking areas, and there's some areas that look just fine or good. It goes from like good to like, this looks pretty good. One thing though, this is a very linear RPG. This is very PS2 caliber level designs. You're literally going to get things where you'll have a staircase in front of you, and there's a little bit of rubble in front of it, and my dead grandmother could walk around this rubble and go up the rest of the stairs, but the game's like, nope, that's an invisible wall. I'm sorry, you got to find another way around. So you get some really bullshit things like that. So you have like this really constricted kind of like, you can really only go where we say you can go. It's really noticeable early on where like you're walking around Shinjuku, and like they'll like not let you walk down a street. You have to like walk very specifically on the side of a street or whatever. So there's definitely these moments of like, this is some bullshit. And so you have some really restrictive. I think people who are used to like Persona games or just sort of like other more like rigid budget RPGs probably won't notice it too much. It's something I notice because it's a JRPG. So in the JRPG genre, it's really behind like the titans of the genre as far as like level design goes, world design goes. It's a very restricted, very linear kind of game. Even when you have places you can go, you select it from a map, but it's like just the level design's very restrictive in that sense. So you're not gonna get this sort of like, I can roam around and explore, a whole world of Digimon or a whole fully recreated Shinjuku, or no, you're not gonna do that. Even when you're doing real world locations like Kabukicho and Shibuya, you're very limited on where you can actually go and what you can actually do and walk around in. So there's got that going for it. Like the actual real detriment, the only thing. And that's kind of like neither here or there. That's more of just kind of like, okay, so the game is just sort of like smaller scale, smaller budget. And also along with that sense is like the game does a weird thing where it kind of makes you kind of stick around the opening, Tokyo area like almost a little too long, making you think you're playing like a Persona game. But then it opens up when you actually do get to go to the Digimon world, which treats itself very much kind of like a Kingdom Hearts thing of like just these very little standalone little worlds within worlds. Unfortunately, even when the world opens up, they then just repeat it. It does like a Kingdom Hearts 2 thing where it's like go to all these different parts of the Digimon world, and then a thing happens, then we're going to go back to those parts of the world and do another thing in those exact same areas but that are slightly different in a remix, and then the final dungeon will literally remix the entire Digimon world again. So there's a little bit of like, okay, they're kind of like stretching what they have to work with by sort of repeating a lot of like little beats and story areas. But yeah, like that's again not necessarily detrimental, but it's a little bit noticeable. And then the only thing that's really a detriment, I would say, like, okay, this is a problem, is the music. The music is just super mediocre. Every so often you hear something that's like, that's a pretty good track. That's actually, that's not bad. But they're few and far between. Most of the time the music is just completely forgettable. It's there. It's barely background noise. It is just a completely mediocre musical experience, unfortunately. And again, being in the JRPG genre, I feel that is more detrimental to a JRPG than anything. I mean, I fight for all game music to be great, but like when a genre known for its musical score like completely fails to live up to anything, that is a little noticeable. That's probably the biggest, like, oh, that hurts. Story-wise, this thing is a little weird. It's a little all over the place. Again, it's very much a teen-rated Shin Megami game. There's a lot of light swearing, a whole lot of dams, and some hells sprinkled in the game. And again, it's a little weird. I'm not familiar with the Digimon franchise. I think a lot of excuses kind of get thrown its way. Well, that's the way it's always been. It likes to be all over the place, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't necessarily make it good though. Like, again, you'll have these moments in the game where the world is ending, and a character died off screen, so another character comes to tell you this ally of yours perished in a big fight, and it's this weird, ugly, creepy looking pink mouse that looks like a little like rat fink thing, and it's like, I have a story to tell you. Oh, the great warrior fell, he died in battle defending his homeland. It's like, why is this thing, or like something called like Pumpkinmon will come like, I need to help you, we need to help you, get through this area, and it's like they have like the weirdest, goofiest, like unfitting characters, sometimes just delivering plot relevant dialogue, and then that's their role. Their role is to come in, deliver like one bit of plot relevant dialogue, and then just you never hear from them again. And it's just this like, why did you choose that Digimon to deliver it? Because it's like, it'll be characters that are not like story related characters. They just show up to deliver some plot heavy point and then kind of fuck off into the sun. And they're like, if they're completely irrelevant, why would you choose the most kind of like tonally ill-fitting Digimon to like give you these plot points? And on top of that, you're going to have all these weird Digimon different designs, and some of them are like very cool, very Gundam-esque, or very horny, or very adult looking. And then you'll get into areas where characters look like they came out of like Care Bears or like My Little Pony, and they're very plot relevant characters, and you have to hear them talk like they're in a Care Bear movie, with all their little ooh-woo kind of dialogue and speech patterns and voicing. So it's, again, the game kind of like doesn't really know how to balance its tone. And I think there are ways to balance, things that, okay, there are cutesy things in this game, like Moogles or whatever, and then there's like more serious stuff. And this game kind of doesn't really know how to juggle that as well as, say, like Final Fantasy, 7 Rebirth, or something like, the Nopon and Xenoblade. It doesn't really match up with the greats of the genre. It kind of is a little bit like, it's a little bit jumbled with the way it kind of works, the way like between the cutesy and the cool and the serious and the horny, and it kind of like it's all over the place as far as that. As far as the story is a little bit frustrating because like there's hints of something pretty cool, and there's like moments that are really cool in the story, and then there's a lot of times where you'll be diverted off the path, and this is the crit path where we leave the main story behind, and then we're gonna go deal with this other thing, and you sort of just, and none of it ever feels that important as like the main story, and it feels like, what are we doing, why is this going on so long? And there's really like an A plot and a B plot to this game, where it's like the A plot actually kind of gets forgotten about, and eventually the B plot kind of overtakes it, where you have this one A plot about, okay, we're going to time travel to stop the end of the world, and then there's this B plot about, the civil war between the Digimon and the humans, and how that's connected to the A plot, and eventually the B plot kind of becomes the major plot, and they just kind of merge it. And unfortunately, you spend so much of the game early on in Tokyo, in the human world, and then once you leave it, you just don't really go back to it, and we barely even hear about what's going on. So there's this whole other plot with like the humans and how the humans are dealing with it, and then it gets so kind of like side fridged, and then you kind of circle back around to it a couple times, and then but it's really never really becomes focus again. So there's a very much throughout the plot, it kind of feels like they weren't really sure which one they should focus on, and unfortunately, some of the cooler elements and ideas kind of get sidetracked a bit, and then it just kind of becomes this very generic, attack and dethrone Digigod kind of plot line. Unfortunately, it doesn't really hit. I mean, the other thing too is that the game it's a JRPG, wears its heart on its sleeve. It's super earnest, it's super emotional, but it's also a Digimon game, so it's not trying to tell any sort of grand story. It doesn't have any message for the players. It's all like hands on our hips, power of friendship, anime bullshit in the end. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna hit anyone in the feels, like again, and because of all the sidetracking you do as you weave your way through the main critical story path, you eventually just so many Mon names get thrown at you, and so many side plot lines kind of like come and go, get resolved, like something else happens, it's like return to it, like resolve this new thing for this one side character, and it's like eventually I just stopped caring. Like it kind of got a little hard to keep track of, a little hard to care about, because you spend hours in an area fixing some relevant issue to that Digi world, and then you solve it, and then you go away, and that character is just out of the plot for the next 10 hours. So shit doesn't really and then they do try to connect everything at the end, but it's so kind of disjointed until it isn't, that when it comes back together, you're like, wait, who are you? What are you doing? What was your thing? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that, I forgot about that. So there's a little bit of kind of a little bit of that disjointedness there. But again, if you wanted to really dive into it, or if you were doing probably more of the side quests, I didn't do the side quests, it probably flows a little better, at least if you're going to spend more time in the world than I did, it probably makes more sense. But the crit path itself, just looking at the crit path and how it is, it feels a little like, go here, do a thing, solve a thing, and then that thing, all those characters, all those plot points are kind of put them in the back of your mind. We'll come back to them many hours later. Hopefully you remember, kind of thing. And I beat this game within the course of a couple of weeks, so it's not like I played the game and dropped it and came back and forgot. This is literally within days of each other. Finishing the game. It took me about, 24 hours or something like that. So overall, in the end, though, I do think it is a very good game, but I'm sorry, a very good game for being a Digimon game that I did not expect to have any sort of merit or whatever. Again, they really did try with some of the graphics, some of the battle systems, making it feel like a really full-fledged RPG. Again, it's ripping off things like Shin Megami and Persona wholesale. They're straight up as a Velvet Room. They're straight up an Igor character. They basically are taking from kind of what's popular now in modern RPG settings in Japan now, and just kind of making their Digimon version of it. And that's kind of a cool idea. I think it's good for the longtime fans of the franchise. And it clearly doesn't give a shit about the Utes. The 6 to 10 crowd, it's not for them. Again, a lot of light swearing. There's a lot of stakes in the story. Characters die, characters go through grief, characters go through things, and that's actually kind of nice to see. But it's also, again, a little bit of a weird tonal whiplash when you have uber cutesy characters, and then their characters talking about oh yeah, I couldn't get over my brother dying kind of thing. It's geez, okay. But yeah, this is You know, it's for what it is. I think it's probably a standout game. But all that being said, are we going to comparing it on a genre level? You know, how is Digimon Story Time Stranger as a Digimon game? Probably pretty great. Probably like very good. How is Digimon Story Time Stranger as a JRPG in the pantheon of JRPGs? Above average. You know, I mean, the story's not going to like move you to tears. It's probably not going to make you think about anything, but it's going to give you, if you wanted something like, if you wanted a sort of light snack version of a Shin Megami game, you know, it's gonna do the job there pretty well for you. Unfortunately, though, again, it misses the mark big time on the music, and the pacing and the story and the tone is a little disjointed, unfortunately. So overall, in the end, the game is generously, I would say the game is somewhere around a 7.5. It's mechanically sound, does what it's trying to do. It's just obviously doesn't quite have the budget, and it's not really going for trying to set any heights, you know, or go for like, I'm going to be the best RPG of all time, or I'm going to be the best RPG of the year or anything. It's just good. It's just good. It's well put together. Did it convert me into being a Digimon fan for not knowing anything about Digimon, never playing Digimon? No, it didn't do anything for that. Like, they exist. Like, I care about as much about Digimon after this game as I did before this game. But it is nice to see that the game is well made. It is well put together, and I think it's a real treat for the fandom. But you know, when you compare what the game is and its genre of the game to, you know, on a genre to genre level, genre to genre scale, no, of course not. It's not even coming close to the greats. It's just thoroughly competent. Again, above average. So take that as you will, and that is my review for Digimon Story Time Stranger. So thank you to everyone who helped donate and reach the sub goal to make this game playthrough and review possible. So you know, again, thank you to all you guys, and you know, I guess I'll see you for the next game we have a sub goal or fan, you know, fans want me to play. But yeah, Digimon Time Stranger, check it out. Oh, one other thing, definitely not worth full price. I feel like that has to be said. Like, as far as like pricing goes, like you can maybe knock it down maybe another full point if you're talking about this as a full price $70 game. Definitely not full price. Namco's definitely overestimating. And again, there's a lot of microtransactions in this game. Luckily, they're not required by any means, but there's a lot of things that require real money in the game, like t-shirts, cosmetics, and music songs from the anime. So be that as it may, yeah, like, definitely don't pay full price for this. So, but yeah, that's all I gotta say about Digimon Story Time Stranger. So, you know, let me know what you guys think.